Welcome back. In the last video we went through some of the important things for students to know about DiscoveryLive and navigating, and we set up this template file here which you could save and distribute to students so that they would have some of the design constraints of a bracket kind of already built out for them here, so they wouldn't have to worry about creating them or forgetting them or trying to incorporate them in their design later. We created these two mounting brackets which were 30 centimeters apart. These would be mounted on a wall, and then we created this shape which was 40 centimeters away from the wall, and that's giving us a nice face to apply our force to here during our stress solution. In this video I'm going to show how to create some of the in-between space here, like actually build out a bracket, and I'm going to model using cylinders, which is more accurately how rebar is shaped, but I will also show a video later on about how to perhaps start with a larger shape and have students actually just subtract from it using rectangular bars as an approximation of the rebar, which is a little bit easier for some students. So first of all, I'm going to put in a cylinder here that reaches outwards from this mounting plate at its center to 40 centimeters, so going straight out. First thing I'm going to want to do is kind of define my sketch plane. So I'm just going to click in the sketch tool here and pick any of these. I'll just do a line because that allows me to kind of select where I'm working at here. As before, I'm kind of hunting around. That's the plane that goes right through the middle. So I click that once. And now I can draw a cylinder that's definitely going to be, right on this z-axis coming outwards. So to find that cylinder tool, I don't have to create a circle and pull it always. If I go up to design in the ribbon, there's one other tool in here that's really useful for my students, which is cylinder. The first click will determine where the cylinder starts. The second click will be where the cylinder ends. And then as a last step, you have to define the diameter. So I'm going to take this out to the center of this point here, make it 40 centimeters from the wall. And then as I pull this out, I can type in the exact diameter that I want. I'll do 10 millimeters because that's close to 3/8 inch rebar. A little bit hard to see right there if I got what I wanted because the sketch plane's hiding half of it. So I'm going to exit the sketch mode and go back to a 3D view. So looking pretty good, but one of the things that'll jump out at you and your students right away is kind of this ugly gap that we ended up with. So one of the things we could try right away is perhaps using the pull tool to pull this outwards and see if it will fill that in nicely. And it looks a little hard there. It kind of knows that I want it to be cut out from that top shape, but it's a little hit or miss here. So we've got some extra tools in the pull option here. If you click on it and you get the conceptual menu that pops up, we can do the pull up to tool, and I'm just going to click on this face then. And so it pulls it right up to this intersecting cylinder there and makes a real nice looking finish. Next, I'm going to add a kind of simple design here. I'm going to add a single bar that would come up and support this. So it's going to start on this face. So again, I'm going to go into the sketching tool and have it define this plane is where I want to, or rather the plane that is kind of flat with the bracket here. So if I hunt around, maybe get a little closer here, and try to get that plane that is straight vertical and flat on the page here. Yeah, sometimes takes a little hunting. That's it right there. All right, so that has now kind of divided the bracket in half the other way, and yeah, hiding the top part there so it's not getting in my way. So that's where the center of my cylinder is going to start, right in the kind of center of the rectangle, halfway from the top, halfway from the bottom. The cylinder tool, I'm going to select that again, and you notice down here as I moved around, a little triangle is a nice little line segment indicator that your tool will snap to. So I'm going to begin there, zoom back out, and bring this all the way up to the top bar. I could have it go all the way to the end, but one of the challenges for my students is to try to optimize their design by using less material. So this still looks like it would add support but be less material. I'll choose a point somewhere around here and click that. The final click determines the diameter. I'm going to enter that as 10. So looking good up here, kind of made it all one shape, but you'll notice something down lower that is going to need our attention. It doesn't seem to have combined these quite like we might want them, and as I exit the sketch mode and go to 3D mode, we can even see that it is protruding out of the back here a little bit. So you might try some of the same techniques that we did with using the pull tool before, see if that resolves our issue. Trying to select this face and pulling it up to the back. Doesn't seem to like that. Pulling it up to the front. Still run into some issues here. So how we get around this kind of situation, if we can't just do it easily like we did before, we should combine these into one object. So it's kind of treating it as these two separate objects sitting in each other. At this point, I'm going to click and drag around all of these to make sure it's got as many of these faces here selected as possible. And then under the 3D buttons, I'm going to use the combine tool. So because I had those selected to begin with, it now has grouped them together, and I don't need to go through some of these extra steps. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that tool. Now when we try to move some stuff back and forth, we should get a slightly better result here. So let's again use the pull tool, select this face, and see what happens when we pull this down closer. So there it looks like it's not actually exerting it as one whole shape there, and I can get that to hide inside. You see it's already kind of making it a nice circle on the inside here. And on the back, I've still got that little protrusion, so I'm going to push that inside the solid object here to get rid of it. Let me grab this flat face and push that back. And it kind of does a nice job there of mending the face as we go, but if we go too far, then it starts to think I want to subtract. So I'm going to again use the up to tool, so it goes straight to the face but no further, and it just cleanly makes that nice and solid. If I kind of check the interior geometry, you can see scrolling my mouse wheel there, there's nothing tricky hiding inside of there. It just kind of blends them all together nicely as one shape. Alright, so this is a real simple design there, but that pointed out a few of the important pieces about joining together cylinders and using the pull tool with some of its extra features to join up any overlap or to add and fill in gaps that you might have had. In the next video, we'll actually set up a solution for this to see how it responds to stresses that are applied.